Hello. Hello. Happy Tuesday. I know I normally stream on Wednesdays, but I don't know why. I thought this would be fun to do on a Tuesday instead. I don't know, but hello. Welcome to the 2D debut stream. As you can tell, I'm not on stream currently. I'm not on screen currently. I can say words. Uh, I have my model off screen. That'd be fun to do like the slow scroll thing I've seen people do. Um, how is everybody's day going, by the way? I hope you are having a great week so far. We're pretty early in the week still. We've got the rest of it left. I originally... Thank you for the follow, son. Thank you for hanging out. I originally had plans to do, like, maybe more of the stream. But last second last night, I got invited to go do dinner with some friends I haven't seen in a while. So that is why I originally was gonna do some pseudo hunting today, and depending on how long this whole first part goes, might not be doing that. But we'll see. We'll feel it out. We've got a couple hours. But hello. I think without further ado, let's show off this model. So I've got a little tootsies first. But before we go through this, let me give a quick shout out to my artist and rigger, by the way. Yander E. Dial, please go give her a follow. She is fantastic. She did all of the art and rigging on my model. And she does just great work overall. I don't know if her commissions are open right now. But if they are, go give her some love. She does fantastic work. So let's show off these little tootsies first. We got my little hooves finally on stream for the first time. Because the 2D model is just, not 2D, the PNG model is just from the waist up, and then the 3D model, I have never been able to figure out how to do hooves in that program, because I have not bothered with Blender. So these are my very first hooves. Free shoes, free feet. Pull it down a bit more. We start to see the hair a bit. The hair finally moves. It's no longer a weird combination of a shoulder length thing and a hair and a ponytail. Down a bit more. We see my little hands and my little waistcoat.
Pete's.
That sounded so corrupted. What was up with that text-to-speech? Pete's. We've got my little bow tie. My little bow finally wiggles. This is one of the things I was most excited about, was the bow tie finally being able to wiggle properly. My little ribbon. And also, we see my little face. I can finally move my mouth and have my little tooth there. Finally got the mouth there. I can also do angry mouth. I can force angry mouth because I have, for very understandable reasons, it's hard to make this mouth be stern on its own without doing a lot of very weird MacGyvering. And so I figured out a way to program emotes to just make it angry mouth, make it a little stern little mouth. And we have face. We have the face. Let me zoom out a little bit so it's a bit more manageable on screen and not just like in your face like this. Is this good? This looks good on screen right now. Just take up all this space. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it sounds weird on stream, but the audio right now from the audio I'm hearing sounds absolutely bizarre. I don't know if it's a stream thing or if it's coming through. Oh my god. Let me zoom out a little bit more. I guess let's show off the model a little bit. Let's have it zoom out to a bit more of a reasonable degree so we can see the full model. It's a little bit crunchy. Okay, I'm wondering if that's maybe just an issue with the bot itself. Because it seems to be happening consistently. But it's still working, so that's good. But yeah, Lonnie's models do go hard. I'm so happy with this model. It's so cool. I can do all these things. I've got a little dance that I can make it do. The dance was not animated by Lonnie, but I think I have a link down in my fact section that you can go and find it. So cute. Thank you. I've also got. I scared myself with this earlier. Also, my face is sweating so bad and my glasses are fogging up. It's so warm right now, and I don't have my fan pointed on me, so it's not being heard on the stream. So for no reason, my glasses are fogging up, which is probably gonna do wonders for my blinking. If you focus on my eyes a lot, you see they like kind of like bounce really sharply. That's not the intent when Lonnie rigged it up, but because my eyes naturally are really small, blinking doesn't pick up well. So I have to like tweak the physics of everything very specifically so I can blink kind of normally. It just looks a little odd if you focus on it really sharply. But I spooked myself earlier because you can do some like color changes in Live 2D, and I made like a spooky mode, and I left it on stream. I left it on my VTube Studio, so when I opened it today, I was just granted. I just was this welcomed me as I opened up VTube Studio today, and I was like, oh god. It gave me a little spook. But this will be good for like spooky mode, if I ever so choose to do a spooky day. Oh yeah, I have to have sharp, snappy blinkers. Yeah. I don't know if for me if it's like a glasses problem, because I've got a light on me, and I think I've tested it with glasses off, and I didn't notice a big difference. If you have V-Bridger, there are more charts you can mess around with. I'll probably check that out later. I was messing with some stuff, and I got to a point where I was like, I don't want to keep doing shit before the stream. I got a little tired. I have so many things right now that I want to work on, and I can't physically do everything. Like, on top of everything, Baldur's Gate came out, and I want to play it a lot, but I've got so much that I'm working on right now. Like, I'm trying to learn rigging in Live 2D, and it's just all the stuff I want to do that just takes time, and like I need to give everything the attention it needs. And so I've got so many things on like the back burner that I want to work on, and V-Bridger is probably one of them I should plop on there because I've heard good things about it. And I have a PC that can do stuff that won't explode my laptop if I try. New Rapture Summon just dropped. God, and another thing on top of Breakin, as if she needs more. But I've got some little outfits. I've got glasses. I can see better if I have to like point out like, oh man, my glasses are screwing things up, I can just throw my glasses on. I've also got another outfit because I really wanted to have this little outfit that I kept meaning to put this other outfit onto my PNG version, and for some reason I never did. I don't know why I never made this outfit. It just slipped my mind entirely. But we have my little summer outfit. The hat is something that I have to deal with on the smaller screens because the hat's very tall. So it's not obvious to tell because of this screen that we're on, but it typically cuts out in the VTube, what's it called? VTube Studio. But here it looks perfectly fine because it cuts off the screen where it's supposed to. Thank you for the hearts. And I love this little outfit. It's just very cute. I'm gonna throw back to my normal outfit. There's a thing called like Mix Up, or I forget what it's called, but there are programs that can allow you to turn on, like, you can do for channel redeems, you can change outfits, and I want to program that at some point, but I ran out of brain space before before this whole stream, so that's gonna be something I'm gonna work on later. Because I was very worried that it wasn't gonna work, and I was gonna be like, oh man, I have to delay stream because I can't get this to work. And I'm very tired. I was up kind of 3 days straight over the weekend. Not for any particular reason, I was just having just the worst trouble sleeping. Just getting to sleep. But I slept last night, thank God. Kind of by Kit's urging. But I got sleep, so I'm well rested now. Thank goodness. Let me take glasses off. I've also got a little blush. I've got a little blushy. For Fem, I'm feeling a little bashful as well. And I think that's all of my redeems. I can't think of anything else that I have. I've got this little mad expression that I programmed into VTube Studio. Because it's hard if I'm ever wanting to give a stern look to chat. It's hard. It's hard with this face. It's very naturally smiley. I can do the angry eyebrows without too much issue, but yeah, it's hard to be stern when with the little like animal mouth. I don't know what to call it. It's not quite a muzzle, but the little like woo mouth. But thank you guys for coming out to see my little outfit. I've got one other thing, that must be showed, and then I think we'll do maybe some Masudo hunting if I can get that rigged up. 'Cause I was having the worst trouble with the capture card the other day. Let me get the music going. Music! There we go. Alright, let me zoom in. God, I've got so many things open. And I'm like, what's the right thing? What do I need right now? Here we go. Let me move. Am I good? I think I'm good. Yeah. Okay. So the other thing I want to showcase today, is having a little lore time. I made a little PowerPoint presentation. Where are my stuff? Here we go. Throw this up. Let me see if it looks good on stream. Okay, that looks good. So I put a little lore, about my character. Gotta be fun. I have some lore, and I have vaguely mentioned some stuff on stream before. Never gone into too deep of detail. So I thought it'd be fun to do this and have a little bit of fun, as we go. Previously, I had a whole idea about being like, oh, I can do like a lore video. That did not happen. That will probably be like a thing in the future that I put together. Maybe it's like a milestone reward. But yeah, that's gonna be a thing for later. Especially now that I actually have DaVinci Resolve working on my computer, and I can actually, like, make videos and do little animations on it. Very, very light animations, nothing extravagant. But yeah, let's get into the lore video. Let me put the glasses on so it's very serious. I'm assuming I can't do anything on here. Let me try something. What happened? Interesting. I just learned that if I hit spacebar, it will toggle off whatever thing I just messed with. Okay. That is good to know. God, my glasses are foggy. It's very gross. Alright. Professional lore dump. This is all about me, and my business. So the biggest question of them all, who am I? Who is Sama? My name is Miss Samagion. A nickname that pretty much everyone uses is Sema, or some people use a variation of Sem for whatever reason. Some people may wonder, how did this nickname come about? How did Samagion get shortened to Sema? Well, about 80% of people just looked at the name and said, "Yeah, I'm not saying that. We're not gonna figure out how to say that. We're just gonna call you Sema." It is just kind of how it has been. I picked up this name years and years ago on the internet. Just so I could have something online that was not connected to me, the human being, for internet safety. And then just everyone looked at that name and went, "We're just gonna call you Sema or Sem because we're not sure how to pronounce that full ass thing." Which is fine. And it's become a fun little nickname ever since. Pronouns? Nah. I feel like my life is better, when pronouns just are not in the mix. You can use he, him if you can't quite figure out how to navigate grammar, without utilizing pronouns. I do recognize that it's not a common thing. Most things don't not use pronouns. So I do recognize that. I just want to clarify that he, him is a fine default. I would prefer not she or they. Definitely not she. And I get when people are using they're trying to be accommodating because they're not quite sure. I would prefer not they, though. My age? Maybe early 30s? I'm not quite sure. For full context, I don't, there's some stuff about me I don't quite remember. I'm pretty sure I'm in my early 30s. I know that I'm old enough to own property because they let me own property. I own the whole building that I work in. And I imagine if I was too much younger than that, they probably would say no. And what am I? Satyr. I've got a little fluffy butt, as I've seen earlier when I was showcasing the model. Here's a big question. Where am I? You see me on Twitch, but that begs question, where am I? Yeah, it's not Earth, I'll tell you that. I live in a magical city called Kentatio. It is in a completely different plane, where magic is more of a thing. From what I've heard of this place, Earth, magic is more of like it's a fun concept that it's not really a thing. Where I am at, it is a thing. It's not something that everybody can harness and utilize, but it is still there. It still exists. One of the fun facets of the city that I live in is always nighttime. There's this weird thing around the city that has this like really pretty like nighttime sky over it. So it's always dark. You've always got lanterns up, and the city is very bright. It's a very bright city. But it is always dark overhead. If you want to see the sun or have some sunshine, you have to travel outside of the city. One of the fun facts of the city, Kentatio, it is known as the capital of music and wonder, where I'm at. I myself am not a musician, so I more just enjoy the spectacle of everything going on. And this place that we're not on the screen anymore, but on the other screen with all the fun like lights behind me, that is an area of the city called the Fairy District, where a lot of like performances happen. It's the gardens of the city. Well, it's the gardens, but you're not really encouraged to use it as a garden. People do, but it's like got a lot of greenery, and people put a lot of performances on here. There's a couple like places that people will hit up in this area. I don't live there. I live in one of the lower districts called the Candle District. It's more of like a workers district where people like live and have little businesses. From what I understand, I actually only arrived in the city recently, about half a year ago. A friend of mine brought me here, which hopefully in the future I'll be able to introduce you guys to him. I don't have art of him yet, but his name is Marzipan, and he's very sweet. And I will love to introduce you guys to him later, but not today. Hello, Hoon! Welcome to stream! This is the new model. Thank you for coming by. We're talking about some lore right now. Let me just get to the next thing. So how am I here? Kind of I talked earlier, in your guys' realm, magic is not a thing. In the realm I am in, it is more of a thing. It's not super uncommon. It manifests a lot in the technology we have, but there are some people who are able to harness magic, different degrees of folk. Of my friend who I mentioned, Marzipan, he is a collector of magical artifacts, and he owed me a favor. And what did that manifest as? He gave me an artifact called a looking glass. It's this rare thing. The main aspect of it is it allows you to peek into other realms in different capacities. It can manifest in different ways based on the rules and limitations of the realms. And it was something I was kind of interested in finding. I knew that they existed, but I personally had never come across them. And in this realm, it connected me to this thing called Twitch. From what I understand of it, it's like it's a type of technology. It's almost like a looking glass of your own, but more people seem to have it. And it allows me to connect with people, maybe chat with people. And I found other ways in this realm where I've been able to connect with folk, things called Twitter and Discord. And it's very cool. I'm having a lot of fun with it, and I've had a lot of fun connecting with this realm, and I would love to continue to do more. But that is how I am here. Now, the big question, I've mentioned, I have a little shop, but what is my shop? What do I do? I put a very informative backdrop on this slide to kind of give you a sense of what's going on here. So Repair and Enchantments is the name of my shop, because I'm not good at naming things. I hope that it's very clear kind of what I do based on the name, because I couldn't figure anything out that didn't sound really ostentatious. But I am a non-specialist craftsman, which is what we refer to here as a craftster. And I offer a wide variety of options for solutions to whatever problems you have. I like to offer basic enchantments as well. I am someone who does have the ability to work with magic to a small degree. And in this city, unfortunately, because it's a glamorous city, there's a lot of people who are here for the luxury of it. But there's a lot of people who live here who help keep things running, who unfortunately are not able to partake in some of the more luxurious aspects of the city because it's a very expensive place to be. And I hope to offer things at more affordable rates for folks. And I have a problem sometimes where I kind of forget to ask for money, and I just say, you owe me a favor later. So yeah, I don't make a ton of profits, but thankfully people in the area are very sweet and very nice, and it's very useful to have favors to cash in sometimes if I need a little help. One of the things that people seem to like a lot about my shop is my shop front is pretty much always open for folks to step by if you need to use a tool in-house. I've heard there's a place in Yowl's realm called a home of depot, where people can come in and just use tools. I've heard it described like this, but I have people coming by probably more often just to use my storefront than anything else. If you need a hammer or a saw or something, or you just want to mess around with something, my shop's always open. I'll sometimes be hanging out downstairs if you need my assistance with something. But from what I've heard, just being able to stop by and just nail something into something is very useful. But that's kind of what I do. I also thought it'd be very fun just to do a little tour. I have these animated backdrops that I utilize in the stream, and each of those backdrops are actually a location either within my building or just within the city. So something that people should probably are fairly familiar with, what I use for the start of my stream, if I need to be right back, or the end of the stream, is my shop front. This is the area where you're going to be able to stop by, utilize some tools, kind of speak with me about some things. I like to keep a lot of plants. The city is pretty dark, so I have to utilize a lot of light pretty constantly. I've been able to get a hold of some charms that allow for the light to be more like sunlight. The plants seem to do a lot better with that. And also it's just it's nice, it's lively. I think it looks very pretty. We also have my workshop. People are not really invited back here. This is more where I am going to be working on projects, or I'm going to make as a study if I'm like reading something. This is also on the ground floor. You've got my furnace back there as well if I'm maybe working with some glass as well. I like to keep things very homey. The city is a lot more industrialized than the inside of my shop is going to make it seem to be. So I like to incorporate those aspects in where I can. I don't use this scream super often, but this is my loft. This is where I'm sleeping. This is, as you can tell with the perspective in the window, it's a bit higher up. You can see the city a bit more. We have started in the past few months to get some rain. I haven't been here long enough to know if that's a consistent thing or not, but we do seem to get some rainfall, which is nice. When I first came to the city and there was this like magic sky over everything, I was a little concerned we weren't going to get like any weather whatsoever, but we do seem to get that, which I'm relieved by. But this is my cozy space. This is where I'd go if I'm like, I don't want to be attending to clients. I don't want to, like, with shops closed right now. I'm just relaxing. It's me time. I've got some coffee. And lastly, we have the Fairy District, which is where we introduced the stream at. This is what I tend to only, like, stop by here if I want to do, like, a fun little event or have, like, a fun little announcement. It's a much more lively space than in my shop. And as you can tell, it's a very beautiful and very whimsical space. There are some like areas of the gardens, like you can kind of tell here, you can't really see the sky with how like overgrown the treetops are, and that's not how it is in the entire district. But like those spaces are like, it's very beautiful. It feels like you've been transported to another realm in itself. Which I've heard sounds a very kind of silly, me talking from another realm, but it's a very wild place. But enough about the city I'm in, and maybe a little bit about me, some fun factoids about me. I have been known to just kind of work myself up into fits of laughter. Like, no one's done anything, I've just, like, I think of a thought, and I'm gone for, like, 5 minutes. Like, I've had instances where I've been in calls with folks, and I have to mute myself because I can't stop laughing. I also have a horrible memory for names. Like, this is, like, people's names of concepts. It's been a horrendous problem at work sometimes when I'm trying to talk about things, and people want you to use very specific terminology, and it is the worst thing. I have such a problem with remembering very specific technology, and it's gotten me in trouble more than once or twice because I've said like the wrong thing, and people are like, no, you have to say this thing, and I'm like, I'm doing my best, buddy. I've also, my left ear is smaller than my right ear, to the point where if I get earbuds, I have to manually attach a smaller bud to the left ear in order for it to like sit right. I've also accidentally have them switched around, and I'll be like, something feels weird, and it's because the sizes are wrong. So it does help me not have the earbuds in the wrong ears for very long, because I can feel it, because it's wrong. Another fun fact is I've played D&D for about 5 to 6 years straight. I cannot think of a time period where I did not have some form of Dungeons and Dragons that I was playing for a really long time. I did start playing a little bit before this. There was like a 6-month period when I started playing that I didn't have a game I was playing. The group I initially started playing with kind of had a falling out, because some of the people that were in the group were a little weird, and it was a good thing that I did not end up remaining connected with those people after that. But I started playing with a group like 5 to 6 years ago, and pretty much since then, I have always had a game going, which is wild. And I think I've only finished 2 games. Like, every other game I've been in, I've either had to, like, leave early, or it, like, fell out for whatever reason, which is pretty standard for D&D games from what I hear. And last fun fact, I'm allergic to cantaloupe and avocado. Avocado is a newer development, and it makes my mouth feel a little funny. Cantaloupe, I straight up, I can't eat. I can't eat it, because if I do, my mouth, it explodes, and it's not fun. And I haven't had cantaloupe since high school, and parts of me are like, maybe I'll try some cantaloupe again. Maybe it's gotten better. And then I think about the idea that maybe it's gotten worse, and I don't. And it's very frustrating, because it is so delicious. It is so good, and I can't have it. And it's so tempting. I love the orange cubes. They look so good, and like melon flavored things are great, but the actual melon, I can't do it. It's so heartbreaking. We're gonna go? Oh, there we go. I also wanted to mention some of my favorite games that I would consider these the best games ever, because I like them a lot, and that's the only category that I think is important. Cantaloupe is so good. It is so good, and it makes me sad that I can't eat it. And I want to be able to eat it. I want to be able to power through it. But with like avocado, I'll still eat avocado and just deal with the consequences of it. It's so bad with the cantaloupe that I'm like, I can't risk it. It's gonna be a multiple day problem if I do eat it. And I do get worried that maybe at some point it will actually become a dangerous problem. So I'm just not gonna eat it. But the best games ever, aka my favorite games. Number 1, Journey. If you have not played Journey, my god, I cannot recommend the game enough. It's a pretty short game overall if you only play it once, but it's on the PS. I've played it on the PS4. I think it was available on the PS3. But if you have a PlayStation, it's like $8, and it's like a 3-hour game. It highly depends on like how slow you take it. I highly recommend playing it with like the online services on, because it has a very fun feature where if you are connected to the internet, sometimes people who are also playing the game will connect to your game, and you can play with them, and there's no voice chat. You just have these little honks, and you are just this little guy going through the world, and I won't spoil it, because the story is already as abstract as it is, but the whole game is about you trying to get to the top of a mountain. And I've played through the game, I think, maybe 10 times, and on several playthroughs of the game, I have cried. And it's such a... It's one of those games where if it's the type of game for you, it will change you. And there was one time I played through the game, and I played through the entire game with a person, and at the very last room, either the person disconnected or something happened where we weren't able to load into the same room, and I cried. I just sat there and cried for like 5 minutes, because it just like, for some reason, losing that person at the very end of it hurt. It was that good kind of hurt, and I can't recommend it enough. It's definitely not the game for everyone. For some people, it's probably very boring and very confusing. But if it's the right game for you, it's so good. I can't recommend it enough if you've never played it. Another game made by the developers that is free right now, called Sky Children. It's called Sky Children of Light. Very fun game. Definitely different, and I very much like it. I can't, in good consciousness, recommend it a ton, because it's been heavily inundated with like in-game purchases, and I can't support that. But it's a very delightful game if you don't have the option to play Journey. Another game that I think is one of the funnest games, and no one agrees with me, My Sims, specifically on the Wii, is such a delightful game, and it's like you build these houses and you have this little character and you go around the world and you make friends and collect things, and it's such a delightful game, and I haven't played it since I was like a teenager, and I disagree with everybody who thinks it's a shit game. I think it's great, and I want to play it on stream someday. I just have to get the right stuff set up in order to do that. Also, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, Explorers of Sky, probably my favorite game ever. I started playing it on stream a bit ago. I've stopped, and I'll probably restart it somewhere in the future. It is so good. It is so good, and if you have never played the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon series, this is my recommendation. It is the pinnacle experience. The stories of those games are always fantastic. You will not make it out of that game without a deep love for the Pokemon Grovyle and a deep hate for the Pokemon Dusknoir. And it is so good. It is such a good game. God, I played through that game like 2 or 3 times. It's so good. Also, Professor Layton in the Unwanted Future is such a bop, and I do want to play the rest of the Layton games. I played through the entire main series, and I played through the first game of the prequel, and I still need to play the other 2 games that I have on my 3DS. I just haven't had the time to play them. It's such a good series, and Unwanted Future is the capstone of the original series, and it's so good, and you will cry, and that is very much a staple of a lot of these games. I love a game that makes me cry. I love to have feelings when I'm playing games. And kind of similar to Journey, Unravel. I believe it's only on the PlayStation, and it's a game where you play a little yarn boy who is going through all these environments. It's like a platformer, which is not the kind of game I typically play, but it's so, like, pretty, and it's so delightful, and it's such a good game. Oh my god. If you can stand a platformer, I can't recommend it enough. It's so delightful, and the music in that game, I need to listen to it more, because the OST for Unravel is so good, and I want to use more of that music on stream, because there's so much in it that is so good and will, like, make your, like, heart swell. It's so good. And lastly, I have to shout out Shadow of the Colossus. I actually only added this, like, just before stream. It was a game that I fell in love with before I ever played it, because it was one of, like, the first series I watched by Game Grumps. I played the remastered version, and I think in that game, like, the whole structure of it is basically, it's a long boss rush, where you run around and you find these bosses to fight. You fight them, and throughout the game, you become this, like, more corrupted person trying to save this girl that you found, or were friends with. It's unclear. The story is very vague, and when I first played the game, myself, the game itself was probably around 6 hours long, maybe? I spent about 12 hours the very first time I started playing it, just running around the world and finding, like, all these different locations before I fought a single boss. It's such an interesting environment to explore, and if you've never played the game before, I honestly recommend doing that, because it was so interesting to explore this, like, empty land and find all these little spots, and then later go back and fight the bosses. It's just an interesting way to play this game. And all these games on this list, I highly recommend checking out if you've never played them, either playing them yourself or watching somebody play. They're just great games. Oh my god, they're just great games. But I've dwelled on this a very long time. I'm very passionate about these games. And so I thought it'd be very fun, kind of like last thing. I love cooking. I love working with food. And I thought it'd be fun to kind of give some fun tips. Tips and tricks of things I've, like, picked up, or the things I think about a lot when I'm cooking with my own cooking. This might not be useful for the types of foods you like, personally, but these are things that just, like, I think about a lot, or they're very useful for the types of cooking that I do. So one of my favorite things to work with are eggs. I love working with eggs. They have so many uses, and one of the, like, the most tricky things is, like, tricky as in, like, it's not, like, a technically hard to boil eggs, but the amount of times that I have Googled, how long do I cook an egg for this type of finish? I looked it up so many times to the point where I've basically memorized it. So if you're hard boiling an egg, and you want certain types of results, if you're wanting a good solid egg, 10 to 12 minutes is how long you're going to need to boil that thing. And I've heard different things about this. My recommendation for when you are hard boiling an egg is you have a pot of water going that's going to be enough to cover eggs. You get it boiling before you put the eggs in, and then you keep it at like a high temperature to keep it boiling. That would be my recommendation for when you are hard boiling eggs. You don't put the eggs in and then bring that to temperature, because then you're going to get some like weird like inconsistencies with how long it took to get the water boiling depending on what the temperature of the water was. I also recommend before you put the eggs in, you either leave them on the counter for like 15 minutes and or leave eggs in like a bowl of like lukewarm water for 15 minutes. This helps bring the eggs from being really cold to either kind of cold or like warm, because that helps prevent the shells from cracking. Because that's a problem I've had a lot when I'm cooking hard-boiled eggs, is an egg cracking, and then you have these weird shards of eggs in the water. If you're wanting, though, if you want kind of a thicker egg where it's like, it's mostly cooked in the middle, but not all the way, you want about 8 minutes. If you're wanting a jammy egg, 7. And if you want that center to be kind of like nice and runny, not quite a little past the poached egg, but like still with like a hardened white egg part, going about 6 minutes. And as soon as you are reaching the time that you're wanting to cook the egg for, plop those bad boys into some ice cold water. Literally put water in a bowl with ice, and that should stop the cooking and make it a bit easier to get the eggshell off as well. But it's one of those things where you just kind of have to keep doing this over and over until you find like the perfect timing for whatever eggs you're wanting to make. Something that I think is very important with cooking is deconstructing the idea of grossness with some ingredients. Something that I've had to really actively do with my own cooking is deconstruct these more elitist ideas when it comes to cooking. All ingredients can be useful and have a place in the kitchen. And some things that are like, oh, this is gross, I don't want to work with this thing, is just something else. So I have 2 ingredients I want to deconstruct today for folks who either find these things gross or weird to use, or like, I don't need to use this thing, or like, why would I ever use these things in my cooking? Mayo is something that I had the hardest time growing up with because I thought it was so nasty, and I had a weird thing when I was younger where any sort of food that was like a white liquid, it was just like, it seemed foul. I was like, why would you want to use mayo? It looks so gross. So mayo is basically a blend of eggs and oil. And you can do a lot more with it if you want to make it like a bit more fancy. But that's basically what mayo is. Like, if you just take eggs and an oil, like canola oil or olive oil, and just like stir it really well, you will essentially get mayo in the end. Some people are really grossed out by the idea of cakes being made with mayonnaise, but if you step back and think about what mayo is, it's just eggs and oil. That's pretty typical to use in a cake. It's a pretty smart thing to utilize too, because you as a person, you're not having to make sure that your eggs and oil become a really smooth emulsion, because there are times where if you don't mix that stuff up really well, you're gonna get weird lumps in your cake from there's like weird streaks in the eggs that can happen. So that's just a nice shortcutting. And anyone who says an aioli, that's just like a fancy mayonnaise. When I'm at home and if I make my own mayonnaise, I typically refer to that as an aioli. Throwing in some maybe some seasoning or like lemon juice or pepper. But basically an aioli is just a fancy term for mayonnaise. So if anyone says aioli, that's pretty much what you're dealing with. And the other thing I want to talk about is American cheese. American cheese is your friend. it was something that when I was younger, I thought was so gross. It looked like plastic, and I was like, why would you ever use this thing? This seems disgusting. I'll stick with my cheddar, please. And now I pretty much have American cheese in my fridge at all times. The amazing thing with American cheese is, I forget what the name of the chemical is, but there is a chemical in the cheese that allows it to have the texture that it has that acts as a really good binder. If you're making a sauce that has like dairy in it and maybe some cheese elements, and you're getting some breakage with like the dairy separating from the oils, if you throw some American cheese into that and let it melt, it is so good at binding sauces back together. The amounts of sauces that I have saved from breaking with just a little American cheese, and it's not a very strong flavor profile too, so you can throw a little bit of it into something and it like will barely change the taste profile, but you'll be able to get a much better texture. And there's other things that you can do to fix a broken sauce, but it's a really great and easy tool to do that, especially if you're not super technically inclined in the kitchen. And it's just a great melting cheese. There's a reason why people use it a lot in like grilled cheese. It's because it melts. It's meant to melt and not break apart. Because there's some cheeses where if you heat them up, you're going to get some oil separating out of that and get like a weird clumpy texture. And you're going to get that with American cheese because it's designed to melt. It's just a fantastic melting cheese. And I can't say enough good things about American cheese. And I'm sad that when I was younger, I was led to believe it's this like gross, disgusting, super unhealthy thing. Cheese inherently is unhealthy. Go ham. Some of my favorite herbs to work with, basil and dill. I have found that pretty much any dish, if I want to add a little extra something, basil or dill is going to go great. Dill on eggs is so good. It's such a delicious thing, and they're both kind of sweeter herbs, so obviously they're going to pair well with something spicy like sriracha or like gochujang or like red pepper flake. I always have like a little thing of red pepper flake near my stove. But seriously, anything is gonna go well with these two. Like if you're working with a dish and you're like, this needs a little extra something, basil or dill. Smell both of them, and then you can figure out there which one you think is gonna go better with it. And I don't hear enough about people working with dill, and I think more people should use dill because it's so good and it's such a subtle flavor too, that if you put a little bit in, it's gonna be hard to go overkill with dill unless you like put way too much in. So it's easy to work with. I do dill and paprika on my boiled eggs for a deviled egg. Yes. Paprika as well. Yeah, paprika is so good. I need to use more paprika because I have it in like my spice rack, but I don't use it much unless literally I'm making just making hard-boiled eggs to eat. And I think this is my last slide for cooking stuff. But do you have stuff in your fridge that's about to go bad? Here is what you can do. These are my soup hacks. It's very simple. There are so many ways to make a soup. Sorry, one sec. Whoa, getting a lot of phlegm. If you have ingredients about to go bad, and like obviously not everything in your fridge is going to be able to be turned into a soup, but typically if you can saute stuff in a pot, especially if you can saute them with either a butter or an oil, and then a garlic, and onion. Onion is always useful in the soup. Then adding filtered water and like whatever seasoning you want. After sauteing, boil that shit for a while, and like it's kind of hard to overboil a soup. The longer you boil something for, the more flavors are going to develop, the more concentrated the flavors are going to become. And once you've boiled it for long enough, like just keep tasting that broth until it gets to where you think it's going to be good. Keep throwing stuff in if you want to bring out more flavor. Blend that shit, and I will preface this. If you have something to blend that is hot, let it cool. Please, dear God, let it cool, because when you are blending something, it's going to rapidly move, and that is going to cause all of those little like atoms and stuff in it to move very quickly. And if you put a hot thing and blend it, it's going to become hotter the same way as if you take a cold thing and blend it, it's going to become colder. It's going to become more rapidly whatever temperature it is. And also, when you're blending stuff, it's going to build up pressure if it's hot. So if you blend up a hot thing, it's going to come hotter, and it's going to kind of explode in your face. So let it cool a little bit. Dear God, do not do the thing that so many people have done, where you blend stuff and then explodes in your face, because it will happen. Please be careful. And then when you're done with it, you have soup. You have a nice, warm, blended soup. And you can do this with so few ingredients. If you just take, like, pumpkin, and you saute that with some onion, and then put a little seasoning in it and blend it, you have a pumpkin soup. It's so good. And I want to make one more mention, in terms of stuff exploding. Eggs? If you are heating eggs up in the microwave, please be careful. Please, dear God, be careful, because eggs can explode in the microwave. It is not going to happen every time, but there have been, if you want to Google and look up, like, egg microwave incident, you can get very, very hurt when cooking an egg in the microwave, so please be careful. Like, if you're going to do so, do it at very small increments at a time. You can poach an egg in the microwave, but it is very risky to do so if you're not being extremely careful. And when in doubt, just don't do it. Just use the stove. Please, dear God, do not hurt yourself. And that is a wrap. That is all of my lore and fun little tidbits that I wanted to go over. Let me go back to my main screen. Oh, I go back to the slideshow. There we go. But that is a wrap. That is a wrap about all my little stuff. Yeah, that's all I wanted to go over today. I know it's a bit early, but I think I think this would be a good point to wrap up for the day. It's an hour, but I think that's fine. But yeah, that was a little showcase of me and a little showcase of the model. But I wanted to thank you guys for coming out today. I've been very excited for a long time to be able to debut this model. I'm going to be using it a lot more on stream, so I hope you were able to come and see more of this model later. I want to make more things for the model, like little animations, or I don't know. I will likely be commissioning Lonnie in the future for, like, maybe more hair, maybe more outfits. But I'm very excited to start working with this thing. It's been held off in reserve for so long, and it's finally getting to see the light of day. Love the model. Thank you, Hoon. Thank you, everybody, for coming out today. I'm gonna find somebody to raid real quick. Who is currently streaming right now? But thank you guys for hanging out. Obviously, I'm not sure if I'll streaming tomorrow. I probably will. But we will see. But seriously, I can't thank you guys enough for coming and hanging out today. I've been so excited to do this. And now I get to use this. Chibi Unicorn is playing Spiritfarer, and I've been so curious to check that game out, so I think I will raid them. Let me make sure I spell it right. Is that spelled right? Let me see. I think it is. Yeah. Alright. A little bit of a warning, it does look like Chibi Unicorn has their audience set to mature. So, obviously, probably if you're watching this stream, you're probably 18 plus. But just wanted to give it a little heads up. But, thank you guys again so much for coming out today. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. And if I don't stream tomorrow, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. And I will see you guys later. I love you guys. Bye-bye.